Picture this: you're sitting in a quiet room, and suddenly your heart starts racing. Your palms get sweaty, your breathing feels shallow, and 1,000 thoughts begin rushing through your mind at once. You can't explain why it's happening, but it feels like your body has pressed a panic button without your permission. This is anxiety. For some people, it's a once-in-a-while visitor. For others, it's a daily companion that shows up uninvited. Anxiety is not just worrying too much or overthinking. It is a complex experience rooted in both the brain and the body. And understanding the science behind it is the first step to taking back control. In today's video, we'll explore why anxiety happens in the first place, what's going on in your brain when it takes over, and most importantly, how you can cope with it in healthy and effective ways. To start with, anxiety is deeply connected to the way our brain is wired for survival. Thousands of years ago, when humans lived in the wild, we constantly faced threats: wild animals, dangerous environments, and uncertain food supplies. Our brains developed a survival system known as the fight-or-flight response. Whenever there was danger, the brain would signal the body to release stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These chemicals made the heart beat faster, muscles tense up, and senses sharpen, all so we could either fight the danger or run away from it. In the past, this response saved lives. But in today's modern world, our brains sometimes can't tell the difference between a real threat, like being chased by a tiger, and a psychological one, like a tough meeting, an exam, or even a negative thought. That's why anxiety feels so intense, even if you're sitting in a safe room. The part of the brain most involved in anxiety is the amygdala. Think of it as the brain's alarm system. When the amygdala senses danger, it immediately triggers that fight-or-flight response. Meanwhile, another part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, is supposed to act like the voice of reason, helping us think logically and calm down. But during anxiety, the amygdala becomes so loud that it drowns out the prefrontal cortex, making it harder to think clearly. That's why when you're anxious, you might struggle to focus, forget simple things, or even feel like your thoughts are spiraling out of control. Now, it's important to understand that anxiety itself is not bad. In small doses, anxiety actually helps us. It motivates us to prepare for a presentation, study for a test, or stay alert while driving. The problem begins when anxiety becomes too frequent or too intense, when the brain's alarm system is stuck in on mode, even when there's no real danger. That's when anxiety turns from a helpful tool into a heavy burden. So, how can we cope with it? One of the most effective strategies is breathing techniques. It may sound too simple, but slow, deep breathing actually signals the body to calm down. When you breathe deeply, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which works like the body's natural brake system, slowing the heart rate and reducing tension. Just a few minutes of intentional breathing can quiet the amygdala and give your prefrontal cortex the chance to regain control. Another helpful tool is challenging anxious thoughts. Often, anxiety feeds on what-ifs. What if I fail? What if something goes wrong? What if they don't like me? These thoughts create endless scenarios in the mind, most of which never actually happen. A powerful way to cope is to pause and ask yourself, is this thought based on facts or fear? By doing this, you're training your brain to separate reality from imagination, which weakens the grip of anxiety over time. Physical activity is another science-backed solution. Exercise releases endorphins, chemicals that act as natural mood boosters. It also helps burn off excess stress hormones like adrenaline, which is why even a simple walk can leave you feeling calmer. It's not about pushing yourself too hard, it's about creating movement that tells your brain, I'm safe, I'm in control. Mindfulness and meditation are also powerful coping methods. When you practice mindfulness, you train your brain to stay in the present moment instead of getting lost in fears about the future or regrets about the past. Studies show that mindfulness can actually reduce activity in the amygdala, helping to calm the brain's alarm system. Even just 5 minutes of mindful breathing or paying attention to your surroundings can ground you when anxiety tries to take over. Finally, it's essential to remember that coping with anxiety doesn't mean facing it all alone. Talking to a trusted friend, seeking therapy, or practicing self-compassion can make a huge difference. Too often, people with anxiety judge themselves harshly, thinking they're weak or broken. But in reality, anxiety is a natural human response. It doesn't define you, and it doesn't mean you're not strong. So, the science of anxiety shows us that it's not just in your head. It's in your brain, your body, and your biology. But it also shows us that anxiety is manageable. By understanding how it works and applying practical strategies, like breathing, challenging thoughts, moving your body, and practicing mindfulness, you can begin to take back control. Anxiety may feel powerful, but knowledge and action are even more powerful. And with each small step you take, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your fear.